Today I will show you how to draw with the dry brush, so please enjoy this episode. So how I start my day is mostly about deciding what I want to use, what I want to draw, and I keep it relatively spontaneous, which means sometimes I feel like pen, sometimes I feel like brush, sometimes I feel like painting. And today I feel actually like brush pen. While I'm doing it, I'm also going to look for a reference that I want to draw. I think this one is nice. I like that. Okay, let's do this one. Tell you a little secret. I didn't want to draw today. Today was one of those days where I didn't want to draw. And I draw every day for a long time. Because I believe, especially this craft, we need to practice every day. Also, you can feel it in your control of the medium for something that you use every day. Especially when you use something like a brush. It really gets better every day by using it. Problem is also if you stay in your art cave every day and you draw every day, at some point you hit kind of like a dry well of creativity, and just looking at images or at the books of your favorite artist doesn't help anymore. Then the best solution is actually to leave the house and to do something completely different which has nothing to do with art. For me, that's hitting the gym, hang out with my girlfriend, I don't know, like doing something that's completely art unrelated, which is good at balance you, but on a flip side, sometimes it's not really, inspiring in a way. Because the question is like, when do you get inspired? When do you get an idea? When does it sparking? So the most important part of being an artist and living the life as an artist is to realize this is what we do here, something that we make sure that the motor of our car, our engine, so to speak, is not getting old and rusty and needs a lot of oil when we start it again. It needs to be like a well-oiled machine that we are ready to use every day. Especially when you're younger and especially when you want to do this professionally, you need to willingly be able to find solutions, be creative, draw fast, have a sharp mind. Especially as a designer or concept artist, you get paid for ideas. So it's nothing where you could be half sleep deprived, and then you just do it. You have to have a sharp mind, so to speak. Those ideas, they need time and they need delicacy and decision making and all that. And when you're tired, your decision making is not necessarily good. So that's that. So that's why we need to keep this practice here in every day. But even as an illustrator, I think it also depends what stage you are. I remember when I had to do bigger environments in games where I was painting all day, you kind of get into this painting zone, but you still need to be aware of time and what it is that you put in, that you stay on track and all that, So you can't waste too much time by just, do a bit of paint here, a bit of brushstroke there. That's not really working. It's still a job, But still the best job in the world, if you ask me, 100%. But you try to draw something and you can't solve it, keep it simple. Okay? If you look at something on an image and you can't really see what it is and how it works or whatever, keep it simple. So focus on maybe shapes or something that helps you to communicate the thing you see. Also, in my head, I'm still using the stacking exercise, stacking method, keeping in mind that the perspective I'm drawing is good. But the good thing is, if you don't have any expectations while you do these here, then you can just draw and if you like it afterwards, great. If you hate it, great. If you want to show somebody, great. If you don't want to show it somebody, great. And you just draw until you have something that you want to show and can show, Now I'm gonna darken all the ambient occlusion shadows and the darkest shadows with this brush here. It's kind of like adding line weight because we want to give it a bit more depth like we did here. But for this you really need to pay close attention to the shapes, to the light shapes that are created, or the shadow shapes. Because if you don't make nice shapes, it can look very unpleasant and just not nice. It's just not beneficial then. And if you feel like, okay, you don't feel comfortable in doing it, then don't do it. Then keep it for a day where you feel like I have enough courage to try it and to push it, and I'm not sad if I just destroy the line drawing. Just take the thing step by step. I often feel that these days people, they rush things, not willingly to spend years of practice and effort in order to achieve something like professionalism in art. Like everything needs to be fast. Why? Do you want to think back of your life that everything you tried to achieve was super easy, super fast to do? It has such a little worth if you ask me, Okay, let's take the one which is a bit drier. We need to see which one is better. This one has a bit of life in him. Left. Yeah, that's the new one. I forgot. So it's this one then. Okay. So we basically now dry brushing the shadows in. Well, basically mostly the cat shadows. So we keep a bit of the backside white, like a super tight line in here, this side, because we kind of like use it as a rim light, so to speak, same as we would paint it. For the shadows that help me to communicate the form, I'm basically brushing them in as well, very gently, carving out the form with the dry brush. And we also darken now the top part of the head, because the head has literally no reflections, because the medium absorbs, or the material absorbs, majority of its light. That's why it's relatively unreflected. Now the whole left part of the figure is in shadow, so that makes it relatively easy for me to do that. The important part is the terminator, so basically the shape where light becomes shadow, or where basically there's no light anymore. So here I need to be very close in attention to see how do I do that. Same for the folds happening on the shirt. So for example, like it's kind of like a nice zigzag shape going on, like this. And I do that first because that's basically my separation. Separation is super important because it makes sure that it doesn't look muddy, because we need this clean separation going on here. Nice. So same here on the other side. Here it will become a bit more lighter, so there's a lot of light on this side. Basically here everything is in shadow because the arm casts in shadow on that. And here again we have a big shape of a fold. Then under the elbow comes the other terminator, or the terminator continues, so to speak. This. And now like everything here is basically in shadow, but we can still mold a little bit the form, which means over a few areas we go a bit more. When you do this, I always recommend follow the form, so you don't get like ugly striations in your drawing. I don't know if we can actually consider that a drawing, because we use the brush pen. It's kind of like a weird hybrid. In a few areas we will also darken with the other one afterwards, because when we add these tones we see what we're missing also. It's also very normal. Like here we don't want any white spots on the backpack, because the backpack has no big reflectivities, unless maybe a bit here. And here, because it is like this shiny material, but super little. But we don't want the backpack being brighter than the skin because of the local value. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I recommend watching my previous video, because I was explaining everything in there. Now let's do the arm. Again, I'm following the form, but I can keep it everything relatively soft because it's skin. Any ink left in this thing here. Good tip is definitely having 2 brush pens and keeping the one which is relatively dry, because then you have like this ongoing brush which you don't need to adjust, you know, so you don't need to adjust the ink on the fly. Okay, then also here is shadow, 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 shadow. The shoes in the light, shadow here. Then when the separation comes, we mold again. Okay, it's all good. And now we need to darken basically the core shadow. So I just realized recording stopped. I don't know where it stopped. That's the problem with these real-time thingies. You have to double check in time. So yeah, I hope it didn't cut off too much of the things I was talking about. I was just saying, like, of course you can push this as far as you like and as far as you feel comfortable in doing. Yeah, but you can have relatively quick cool result. And if you work a bit cleaner than me, then even more. But I feel the brush pen is a medium that it's supposed to be a bit messy, because it has like this super textury feel. And I really like that. Okay, let's do one more. you see that the dry brush has really a lot of power, and there's really like a lot of stuff you can do, but it also has its limitations, especially when you have something like in between, you know, like I have. Like this one pen is relatively dry, and there's not much ink in there anymore. You can still push this and push this and push this, and it's a great way also to learn rendering. I appreciate you all. Thank you for the support as always. You're amazing. Feel free to like and subscribe. Take care and see you in the next one. Bye bye.